Hello. Yesterday, during the stream, someone asked me a question about um, Russia's ability to manufacture barrels. And there was a story, I believe it was earlier this week or last week, I can't remember exactly when, but it was about how Russia apparently can manufacture around 200 barrels a year for their artillery. Um, Now, this may not actually be true. And I'll get to that in a second. But first, I just want to describe how. Okay, first, I also want to say that I am not expert in any of this. I just know like little pieces. You could find a lot more information about this elsewhere on the internet. I just want to give a very, very brief overview of the arguments being made here. So anyway, this is kind of this is not a barrel. This is an automotive part, but it's kind of similar to a barrel in some ways, maybe. Okay, so anyway, this is an automotive part being manufactured apparently, and so as you can see, there's these hammers that go around in radial forging. There are typically four hammers, and they all hit at the same time, uh, putting stress equally around the objects that you're forging. So that is the purpose of the radial forge is to have equal stress everywhere so that you end up with a stronger product at the end. So as you see, it can manufacture various shapes. It can manufacture a circle. It can make squares. It can make hexagons. Any kind of cross section and shape that you want, and you can put shapes inside too. You can make solid bars. You can make hollow stuff. So this is a very effective way of manufacturing things that are vaguely tubular for all sorts of industries. Okay, so these machines are manufactured in Austria, and companies all over the world in all sorts of industries buy them. Um, so here is a video, and I'm terrified to show this video. Where I don't know if YouTube will get angry at me. Anyway, I'm just going to show a few seconds of it just to show you the basic process of how this works. You see, it turns, uh, and it's getting hammered, turning, and the hammering. So that's how that works. So the piece that you are forging is called a workpiece. So the workpiece is grabbed by that manipulator, and it is turned. And as it is turned, it gets hit by the four hammers. In this image, you only see three, but you can imagine there's a fourth one right here, and they all hit at the same time and forge your product. Okay, so that's the basic overview. So the reason this matters is because this is basically the only way currently to manufacture a good gun barrel. And just getting down to the most basics of it, in essence, on paper, um, Russia appears to have the capability of manufacturing around 1,000 barrels a year. That's the claim. Um, from what I understand, they have roughly the same number of machines as the United States. So I guess the United States could make 1,000 a year too. And I believe the British also have the same number of machines, so the British can make 1,000 a year. I think the Germans do too. So the Germans can produce 1,000 a year, and a few other countries. So if you kind of add them all up, um, NATO can make a whole bunch a year, and Russia can make 1,000. So, and you have to keep in mind that these barrels are not only used for artillery; they're also used for tanks. So if you take those 1,000 barrels a year that Russia can produce, and they want to produce a whole bunch of tanks, right? So they're trying to produce like 1,500 tanks a year, but they can only make 1,000 barrels. So I guess they could make 1,000 tanks a year, but then they can't make any artillery. Or they could make 1,000 artillery a year, but then they can't make any tanks. So you see the problem here. If you can only make 1,000 barrels, it's not enough. There is word that these machines can actually produce more than 1,000 a year, but then that would be true for all the countries, right? So if the United States and Russia are using the same machine, but Russia can make more than 1,000, that means America can make more than 1,000. But America's not making more, or are they? Are the Americans making more? But if the Americans are making more, wouldn't the British be making more and the Germans be making more? I don't know. It's all very confusing. Uh, this is where you kind of have to use a different type of logic. Um, Maybe if these machines can produce so many barrels and people are opting not to, um, maybe there's a good reason they're not doing it. Maybe it will break the machine. I don't know. Or maybe the machines can't. Maybe they actually can only make 1,000 or whatever the number is. Maybe it's 1,100. I don't know. But that is the story that's been going on, and that's all I have to say. So that this is my response to the question we had in the stream yesterday, and I forgot to talk about this last night. So goodbye.